New Zealand, a place where emerald hills meet sapphire waters, a land painted with the serenity of nature. But even in paradise, darkness can lurk. Beneath the breathtaking scenery, a chilling tale unfolded, a story that would forever scar the idyllic landscape. It began with a disappearance. A young woman vanished without a trace. Fear seeped into the hearts of a nation. Whispers of a predator in the shadows spread like wildfire. The beauty of New Zealand seemed to dim, overshadowed by the looming dread of the unknown. Emma Agnu was more than just a victim. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a young woman with dreams and aspirations. She was a gifted artist, her creativity flowing onto canvases, breathing life into colors. Her deafness did not hinder her spirit, it fueled her determination. Emma navigated the world with a quiet grace, her eyes speaking volumes where words couldn't. She was a beloved member of the deaf community, her presence a source of strength and inspiration. On that fateful day, Emma set out for her usual morning jog. A familiar route, a routine she had followed countless times before. But this time, something was different. Something was terribly wrong. Emma never returned. The alarm was raised when she failed to show up for work. Her loved ones frantically searched for her, their hearts sinking with each passing hour. The news of her disappearance spread quickly. The community rallied, organizing search parties, plastering missing posters throughout the city, desperate for any sign of the missing young woman. Days turned into weeks, and the initial hope began to dwindle. The police worked tirelessly, following every possible lead, but the trail seemed to run cold. The lack of answers only intensified the fear that gripped the nation. Emma's family clung to the hope that she was still alive, but the grim reality began to set in. The thought of a predator lurking in their midst, preying on the innocent, was a chilling prospect. The once peaceful streets of New Zealand seemed to whisper warnings of unseen dangers. The disappearance of Emma Agnu shook the nation to its core. It served as a stark reminder that even in the most idyllic corners of the world, darkness could find a foothold. It forced people to confront the uncomfortable truth that evil could exist anywhere, hidden beneath a veneer of normalcy. The search for answers continued, but the shadow of uncertainty loomed large. The question remained, who had taken Emma? And what fate had befallen her? Liam Reid was a name that sent shivers down the spines of those who knew his true nature. But before he became Liam Reid, he was known as Julian Heath Edgecomb, a man with a past steeped in violence, deceit, and a chilling ability to evade the clutches of justice. His criminal history stretched back years, a tapestry woven with assaults, robberies, and a sinister pattern of preying on vulnerable women. Julian Edgecomb was a chameleon, blending into society, masking his true intentions behind a facade of normalcy. In 2005, Julian Edgecomb vanished. He shed his old identity and adopted the persona of Liam Reid. A new name, a fresh start, but the darkness within remained unchanged. He sought refuge in the anonymity of a new life, hoping to outrun his past. But the past has a way of catching up. The echoes of his crimes reverberated, even under the guise of a new identity. The transformation from Julian to Liam was more than a change of name. It was a calculated move to distance himself from the looming consequences of his actions. Liam Reid sought to bury his past, but the ghosts of his victims lingered. He carried the weight of his crimes, a burden that would eventually resurface, dragging him back into the spotlight. Despite his efforts to reinvent himself, the darkness within him continued to fester. It was only a matter of time before it manifested once more, unleashing a reign of terror that would expose the true depths of his depravity. The name Liam Reid would become synonymous with fear, violence, and the chilling realization that monsters can wear human masks. As the investigation into Emma Agnu's disappearance intensified, a chilling pattern began to emerge. Another woman, whose identity remains protected, came forward with a story that mirrored Emma's ordeal. She had been the victim of a terrifying abduction. her experience bearing striking similarities to the circumstances surrounding Emma's vanishing. The two women, both young and vulnerable, both targeted by a predator lurking in the shadows. The similarities were too significant to ignore. The second victim's account painted a harrowing picture of a violent abduction, a desperate struggle for survival, and the chilling realization that she had been targeted by a predator who had meticulously planned his attack. She described her attacker, his physical characteristics, his mannerisms, his cold, calculating demeanor. The details she provided sent a chill down the spines of the investigators. The similarities to the Emma Agnu case were undeniable. The modus operandi was identical. The targeted victims, the method of abduction, the chilling silence that followed. It was as if the same nightmare had played out twice, leaving two families shattered and a community paralyzed by fear. The emergence of the second victim solidified the chilling truth. They were dealing with a serial predator, a man who had honed his skills, perfecting his methods, becoming more brazen with each passing crime. The clock was ticking. Forensic evidence became the linchpin in the case against Liam Reid. DNA samples collected from both crime scenes pointed definitively to the same perpetrator. The science was irrefutable. Liam Reid's genetic fingerprint was etched onto the narrative of these horrific crimes. The evidence provided a tangible link, connecting him to the disappearances that had shaken the nation. The web of forensic evidence tightened its grip around him. Eyewitness accounts further solidified the case against Reid. Individuals who had encountered him around the times of the abductions came forward with crucial information. They painted a picture of his movements, his demeanor, his chilling presence in the vicinity of the crimes. Their testimonies, while fragmented, coalesced into a damning narrative, bolstering the forensic evidence and weaving a tapestry of guilt around the prime suspect. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. Liam Reid's attempts to deflect suspicion crumbled under the weight of the mounting evidence. His alibis unraveled, his explanations riddled with inconsistencies. The facade he had so carefully constructed began to crack, revealing the darkness that lurked beneath. The investigation, fueled by a combination of scientific certainty and compelling eyewitness accounts, zeroed in on Liam Reid. He became the focal point of the case, the prime suspect in the eyes of the law, and the embodiment of the terror that had gripped the nation. With the weight of evidence stacked against him, Liam Reid was apprehended and placed behind bars. Inside the confines of prison, his behavior became a subject of intense scrutiny. Psychological evaluations were conducted, aiming to delve into the depths of his psyche, to understand the motivations behind his horrific actions. The man who had once moved freely, masking his true nature, was now a captive audience. His every move observed, his every word analyzed. Reid's demeanor in prison fluctuated between defiance and a chilling detachment. He maintained his innocence, denying any involvement in the crimes. However, his attempts to project an image of composure were often undermined by outbursts of anger, a simmering rage that hinted at the volatility lurking beneath the surface. The psychological evaluations painted a disturbing portrait of a man consumed by a dark triad of personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. These traits manifested in his manipulative tactics, his lack of empathy, and his chilling ability to compartmentalize his emotions, distancing himself from the consequences of his actions. The evaluation suggested that Reid possessed a profound lack of remorse, a chilling indifference to the suffering he had inflicted. The experts concluded that he posed a significant threat to society, a dangerous individual capable of further violence if given the opportunity. The prison walls may have contained him physically, but the true nature of the beast within remained a source of unease and concern. The arrest of Liam Reid brought a wave of relief to a nation on edge. The man suspected of perpetrating these horrific crimes was finally behind bars, awaiting trial. But the sense of relief was intertwined with a lingering unease. The shadow of Emma Agnu's disappearance still loomed large. The absence of a definitive answer, the lack of closure, continued to haunt the collective consciousness. The upcoming trial held the promise of justice, but it also carried the weight of immense expectations. The trial of Liam Reid promised to be a landmark case, attracting nationwide attention. The prosecution meticulously built their case, presenting a mountain of evidence, DNA analysis, eyewitness testimonies, and the chilling similarities between the two abductions. The defense team faced an uphill battle, tasked with challenging the overwhelming evidence and sowing seeds of doubt in the minds of the jury. The eyes of the nation were fixed on the courtroom, waiting to see if justice would be served. The Liam Reid case served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of innocence, the fragility of peace, and the ever-present potential for darkness to disrupt even the most idyllic settings. It ignited a national conversation about safety, about the need for vigilance, and about the importance of supporting victims of violent crimes. The verdict, whatever it may be, would have far-reaching implications for society, shaping the way such cases are handled in the future and impacting the ongoing conversation about crime, punishment, and the pursuit of justice in a world where darkness can sometimes lurk in the most unexpected places.